welcome back to another episode of 40,000 Layers. We're going to carry on with painting our lovely Tyranid, who has a name now.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. But that is all I'm going to think of him as from now on. And talking about the different groups.
So, I called him Horus.
That's not his name.
But,
There's already a Horus in 40k. They can't have another one.
No, Horace, A-C-E.
Nope. He's got a name.
I called him Horus because obviously Horus the Hormagaunt. But Tash informed me that his name was Edward because scissor hands.
Mm-hmm.
I then pointed out that those aren't scissors, those are scythes or knives. So Tash decided to rename him, and he is now known as Eduardo the Knife Man.
No, Eduardo Knife Hands.
Sorry, Eduardo Knife Hands. Much better.
It is much better.
It's a shame we didn't record the break in between because that whole telenovela, Eduardo, I am your father, prepare to die. That was a fun little bit. Now people are just going to be confused by it. Oh well, that's fine. Should have been there at the stream. So here's a thought.
Yes.
Do you think that the Hive Mind and the Tyranids have the equivalent of like Windows updates? And like all of the Tyranids who are part of the Hive Mind get their volume reset, and they're suddenly like screaming really loudly or can't hear each other properly, and they have a whole load of, they have to all get into the equivalent of a Tyranid Zoom call and adjust their volumes to make sure that everyone's got the right levels.
Now that you say it, the way that you said it, I'm like, actually, they do reset people because they've used the gene stealers up, right?
Yeah,
and they've reset them from that. So why not the generic ones? Like if they have an overpopulation of like Hormagaunts, for example, why not reuse that biomass for something useful at the time? So
Yeah,
yes, I think so.
The other thing I thought was, I was like, wait, is there a joke here about the Tyranid Hive ships having like windows, and actually the window updates are just literally updating their windows? But it's not good.
Here's a different aside. Who uses Mac? Who uses Apple in this universe?
Oh, the AdMech. Adeptus Mechanicus.
No, I feel like they would use Linux, right? Or
no, because you've got the geniuses, the Apple geniuses who like work the stores and stuff. Those guys are totally AdMech.
Yeah.
Linux would be the Necrons. Ancient. Behind the times.
Wow.
Not that many of them.
Well, that's true.
But the most powerful and scary of them all.
This actually looks really cute. Like, I don't know if you can see on the camera. You can kind of see the stripes.
Yeah.
It looks cute. Not that it's supposed to look cute, it's supposed to look horrifying, but you know what I mean.
Well, you have a very weird definition of cute and horrifying, so... Although I was appreciative that you were horrified by the bioweapons they have.
I love it, though.
They're fucked up. Yeah, it's pretty metal. Just like a flesh borer, you fire it and it just buries into your skin and then attacks your nervous system and then eats your brain. It's like, okay.
Okay, go off, I guess.
Okay.
if you want.
So we're going to talk about units.
Yes, please.
All the different types of Tyranids. Well, not all of them, but a decent amount of them. Shall we talk about the basic bitches known as Gaunts first?
Yeah, because we're painting one.
We are. We're painting a subspecies.
Say we. Someone is doing a lot more work than the other person.
When we're talking about painting. When we're talking about talking and ruining their voice, someone's doing a bit more talking than someone else.
Well, yeah, it's true.
So the haunts are as I said, they're the basic bitches. They're the Imperial Guard of the Tyranids. They are so much like the Imperial Guard that very often the Hive Fleet will just throw them at the enemy until the enemy has used up all their ammunition. Because they're low value and easily replaceable. Hey, Imperial Guard, you feeling good about yourselves? Because why would you? And then after,
Don't make me laugh when I'm painting stripes.
Sorry. And then after all the Gaunts are killed, they send in the actual worthwhile troops, like the Tyranid Warriors, or as they are also known, the Space Marines. You know, so like, yeah.
Aww.
It's amazing how much you can compare the Imperials and the Tyranids sometimes.
Heresy.
What are they going to do?
Lots of things.
So, the basic subgroups of Gaunts would be the Termagants and the Hormagaunts. They're all small, they're all quite agile, and usually there's like 12 to 20 of them, but sometimes they can get a bit bigger. And the Termagants are the ranged foot troop, the ranged foot soldier. They actually have flesh borers, which is a lot more effective than the flashlight that the Imperial Guard get.
Yeah.
Which basically it fires that living beetle thing that buries into the flesh. And
the horrifying borer.
Yeah, so that's the standard Tyranid ranged weapon is a flesh borer. They are kind of okay. They're not amazing.
Like at their job, you mean? Or emotionally?
Yeah, well, like, the Hormagaunts and the Termagants, the Hormagaunts can do a lot of damage, but both the Termagants and the Hormagaunts are pretty vulnerable to melee and to ranged fire. So they are very much a shield, a cannon fodder, essentially. They can do damage and they can be effective, but in such a low, in such a low effectiveness that they're more often used as kind of, yeah.
The enemy run out of bullets, and then we'll put the good soldiers in.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
There are, and like that's pretty much all there is to the Termagants, and it's the same with the Hormagaunts. They're fast, they're agile, they have their big claws, which you can see when they're on screen. And they can cut infantry up, like their weapons are effective. It's just comparative to all the other Tyranids, it's like, I get terrified by other shit. Like the Hormagaunts, Hormagaunts and Termagants are less.
I mean, they're guns though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Those guns are spoopy.
There are also like elite versions of them. The Spine Gaunts are a Termagant that are melee focused. They have spine fists, like twin linked spine fists. That like, you know, it's like they're like boxing gloves that can fire spines. And then the Hormagaunts have the Hyper Gaunt, which have acid sacs and adrenal glands. So they're basically nosed up. Deja vu. So yeah, they're faster, they're more roided up, and that type of thing. Then I'm not going to go into all the details of them, but I'll just read out very quickly all the subspecies of Gaunt that exist.
Mm-hmm.
They're all basically the same, except for they do very tiny little different things, and I think a lot of them aren't super canon or super about, they're just things. Crucigaunts, Death Gaunts, Exagaunts, Genogaunts, Hellgaunts, Lashgaunts, Melgaunts, Mortigaunts, Nightgaunts, Protogaunts, Pyrogaunts, Razorgaunts, Rendergaunts, Slashgaunts, Terragaunts, Toxigaunts.
Terrifying.
Yeah. So
Thanks
that's
for
the
slurp.
yeah. I thought it went well with the with the read. So that's the Gaunts. That's pretty much all there is to them, really. They're not super interesting the same way a standard Imperial Guardsman isn't super interesting. But then we move in to the Lichters. So this is a quote from a sergeant in the Imperial Guard. It was like the shadows just came alive and took him, right from under our noses. One moment he was there, the next he was gone. And none of us saw an emperor damned thing.
Oh,
So,
fudge buckets.
you right there?
I just got purple in somewhere I shouldn't have purple, and I'm so upset because it really messes it up. Sorry.
Okay.
It's fine.
So, Lichters.
He's just bleeding.
It's just bleeding, it's fine.
Oh, this is such a nightmare to fix. Okay.
Put it down for a second and take a beat, and then you can attack it in a different direction.
I'm so upset. I wonder if this will work.
You know what will make you feel better? Talking about Lichters.
Sorry, go
So,
on.
Lichters.
You could tell us about how you have had them in previous shows.
I have. Oh, I mean, all of these will have been in my shows pretty much. I like to use Tyranids as a kind of like a kind of like enemy that's not going to back down. So you get a lot of lost stands with Tyranids. The other thing that I've done before is I've used a Lichter as a predator type like episode. It was a lot of fun because you know how in the Predator, the film, not the Predator, but Predator, the film
Predator,
with Arnie.
With Arnie, yep.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Like it's hard to see. It like you think it's there, but it's not there. You're like shooting at nothing. That's how the Lichters fight, and that's how the Lichters act. And we're going to go into some of the really disturbing things about Lichters. They have a carapace that is chameleonic.
Yeah.
So they can essentially like blend into their surroundings really, really well. So you can barely even see them. And you remember those flesh hooks?
Yeah.
Like you can fire the flesh hooks out of its chest and like grab someone and then drag them away. And they won't even see like what's doing it or where it came from. And it can happen,
anytime, anywhere. Yeah.
They can like if imagine you're in Predator, the film,
Right,
and they just drop. It can just drop in the middle of you, like out of the trees, or out of a sewer drain or whatever, like anywhere really. And then like it's so deadly in close combat. It's got those big like barbed scythes on its shoulders. It's got like kind of like really rendy claws that it can just rip you apart with. It's got the flesh hooks. It's like a 8-foot roided up assassin.
Yeah, at some point you may as well just like admit you're dead.
Yeah,
and that is the point.
It's like if you. It's a bit like if you combined Arnold Schwarzenegger with a ninja. Like, you take Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was a bodybuilder and all like, muscly and shit and like tall and all that kind of crap. And then you gave him the skills of a ninja and you're like, go. That's kind of the vibe.
That's how they make them,
Yes. Yes. So as far as I know, Lichters started off as Tyranid Warriors and kind of like evolved to be much more,
Murdery.
much. I'm gonna send you this picture just because it's very good to highlight what I'm about to say.
Oh, it's a very small picture in Discord, so it's kind of hard to see. But I can see it now. They've had to enlarge it.
They made them more Cthulhu-y.
Mm.
It's literally an image of like this kind of purple tinged Lichter with like the Cthulhu head and more, like the face tentacles.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected it to look like that, I guess.
Yeah. So they made them a lot more like lithe and agile and stealthy. It gets sent ahead of the main hive for the most part because it has obviously its unique scout stuff. It is actually a synapse creature, and it's, let's call it programming for the sake of argument. Its programming is essentially like, are you outgunned? Are you outmatched? Don't attack. Wait for them to take a piss break, or start serving up tea, or just do it another time. One of the reasons for this is they're not designed to kill, even though they do kill very well. They're designed to basically cool the hive mind to them.
Right.
Which is why if you have a Lichter on your planet, you fucking kill it. Because if you don't, there's like almost definitely a hive fleet on the way.
Yeah. Gotta get that out of here fast.
And as it goes around the planet and as it scouts, the more it feels the presence of prey and people and all of those things, the more of a sensor it sends back to the hive.
Yeah.
Which lets the hive be like, oh, that Lichter over there is like super hyped. Let's go over there. There's a lot of nice biomass over there.
This planet's looking toaster.
Just to give you an idea as well of the general level we're going up against here. Not even counting the scythes and flesh hooks and stuff. Like their claws, their like hand claws, can pierce steel. So
they're badass.
Yeah, they're pretty scurry. The face tentacles have like bony hooks that can pierce skull. Do you know what they're for?
Eating brains.
Yes.
Oh,
and do you know why?
Because brains are tasty?
Because the Lichter horrifically absorbs memories.
Ooh.
Which is why it's an infiltrator and a scout. And is why the Lichter goes off because it finds intel. It tells, like, when a Lichter eats a random person's brain, that random person's brain tells them where their comrades are, possible weaknesses, that hole in the wall that no one fixed up, all of that type of shit.
Ooh, and then that causes trouble.
Which means it just hunting while the hive fleet is on the way and consuming the people they hunt's brain. They learn better than like a fucking inquisitor who's interrogating people because they just absorb memories.
Yeah, I can't lie to a Lichter because they're like, at least you could lie a little bit to Inquisitor. You wouldn't do well; you'd die horribly, but and then gravity would get you. But the option's there.
Yeah. And flipping it a little bit, fighting a Lichter, not fun, not very easy. For the most part, even if you're in like a squad of Imperial Guardsmen, you're gonna get killed before you realize anything is there.
Yeah, they're sneaky. Sneaky boys.
They are sneaky. The general ways to bring down a Lichter is usually if you have a heavy weapons team who realize that he's there before he like rips them apart, or be a Space Marine.
Just be a Space Marine.
Because they have better armor and reflexes and they're actually effective in combat. Sorry, Imperial Guardsmen, I'm crapping on you today.
They're not having a good time.
They're not. But to be fair, they never do.
No. Space Marines
like-
get all the girls.
They wouldn't know what to do with girls if they got girls.
Which one? Space Marines?
Yeah. Like the Space Marines don't understand a lot of human emotions and stuff. They don't understand romance or love.
Oh. Can't
Anyway.
be disloyal. You can't love anybody. Sorry, carry on. This is an aside.
Another way to like fight a Lichter is the second that you see even the slightest possibility that a Lichter exists on your planet, you burn all the forests down.
Oh, because then they're not sensing the
And carpet bomb everything, because there's a possibility you'll hit the Lichter.
Oh, I was gonna say because then there's less like biomass for them to report back on.
No, literally, it like, and the thing is from a planetary point of view, even if there's only one Lichter, it's worth doing because it means that the Hive fleet may not come there.
Who needs forests to live? Not us.
Another great way to combat a Lichter is if you're reasonably sure that a Lichter's on the planet, just leave.
Yeah.
Literally pack everyone up and just leave. Like, the Tyranids will still turn up, they'll consume the planet, but at least you won't be there.
Yeah.
Like, technically speaking, that's a win for you.
I didn't like this planet that much. You know, just born and raised here, and you know, it's a great outpost. But you know, I'm sure the Emperor will understand.
Yeah. So that's Lichters. So now we're coming to probably the most common Tyranid in a Tyranid swarm, the Tyranid Warriors. Which, when you consider that they are essentially the actual foot soldier, they're not like a they're not like, you know, a meat shield just used to soak up bullets. They're like a regular soldier. They're, you know, that type of thing.
Half useful.
Yeah. They're like 8, 9, 10 foot tall.
Oh.
They have 4 arms, 2 of which are usually those big scythes.
Yep.
And the other 2 either carrying a whip and a sword, or one of those horrific like death spitters, or you know, venom cannons, like the one that sprays acid like a flamethrower.
Love it.
Like, a Tyranid Warrior has a decent-ish chance up against a tank. You know, like a Chimera. Decent chance.
Decent chance. Okay.
And that's their equivalent of the Imperial Guardman. So gives you a vibe of the like power dynamic that they have going on.
I'm gonna mess you up.
They are synapse creatures, which does really help.
Yeah, they have like this. The synapse. I always want to say synapse, but the synapse creatures like tend to be a bit more badass, right? So
Yeah, you can also say synapse. You know, that might be correct because you got like sinuses, synapse. I don't know.
No.
Could be either. They're also pretty fast. Like, just because they're big and hulking doesn't mean they can't move. They can. unfortunately. One of the reasons that it's so such a mainstay for the Tyranids is it's very adaptable. So there's like hundreds of different versions of them. You got like ones with wings, ones that can leap like, massive distances. All of the different types of guns, they tend to use all of them. So they can, they can make a whole load of Tyranid Warriors that are anti-infantry. They fire like acid and those nets and stuff. The Death Spitters, I think, is the nets maybe. But if they have a whole load of tanks, they're gonna switch to like those bone spears and the anti-tank capabilities. If there's a crap ton of armor. Yeah. They have to reset the volume, of course, but that's fine. Which is why they're the core, because they're probably the most easy to adapt.
Yeah.
It means they're like they've got like a template, and then they can just load up and load out, depending on what's needed. So it's a lot easier than going like, oh, let's get some more fucking Lichters because we need some anti-infantry, blah blah blah.
Better go find some psychers to eat.
Yeah.
I know a guy that has a supply.
And honestly, like that's the Tyranid Warriors. There's not too much to talk about with them. Again, like they're perfectly designed for what job they need to do. But even if you're an anti-tank Tyranid Warrior, at the end of the day, you can still rip a bitch apart who's like a 6 foot regular Joe. Who's like, oh, hello. I appear to have a lasgun. I brought a lasgun to a Tyranid fight.
That was never gonna go well, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, rip in pieces that guy.
We have the Gene Stealers, but as I said, we're probably going to talk about the Gene Stealers in their own thing because they really are their. I mean, they really are their own thing. To be fair. One thing I will say is, in terms of foot soldiers, they're essentially like the upgraded version of the Hormagaunts. Like, if you want to fight Space Marines and Terminators, you tend to use a full-on Gene Stealer.
A proper Gene, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And this is a sad one because if there's full-on Gene Stealers fighting, like the fighting the Imperial Guard or Imperial Citizenry or stuff, after the battle, when they beat the Gene Stealers, the Inquisition or whoever will go through the units and purge like half of them. Because
I was gonna say, like, I can see where this is going. They've been in contact with Xenos. Goodbye.
So, that's not great. You literally go up against a terrifying, monstrous army. You manage to survive, and then something even more terrifying, the Inquisition comes along and goes, nobody expects the Inquisition. Except for they do when they fight Gene Stealers, because they come along to make sure no one's infected and purge anyone who is, and some people who aren't but might be.
Gotta be sure.
And some people who just look at them funny because the Inquisition is a dick.
You know how much paint I get on my microphone every time?
Yeah?
So much.
I'm just taking a moment to see how you're doing.
Good. Like, I'm feeling...
Have we got past the outburst from earlier?
Which one?
Is it now okay?
Why you cough in a microphone without muting it? No, that's
No,
totally
no,
fine.
no. When everything went terrible forever and was never going to be fixed.
Oh, yeah, no, it's still awful, but
Okay.
you know,
Anyway,
awful is
Gene Stealers.
a state of mind.
Oh, here's an Inquisitor quote, which I'll give for you before we move on from the Gene Stealers. I can think of few greater Xenos threats to the Imperium than that of the Gene Stealer, an apex predator possessed of intelligence and cunning that rival our own. They exist for the sole purpose of reproducing in vast numbers and sowing utter chaos in their wake. And having said that, Gene Stealers can like mess with the DNA of any race.
Ooh.
The only one it really doesn't work on at all, aside from the obvious one like the Necrons, is the Orcs.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, the thing is when Gene Stealers like create Gene Stealer Orc hybrids, the hybrids are too chill and just get murdered by the Orcs for being un-orky and a little bit purple.
Oh, yeah, because they're not off to fight. But like,
Because the Gene Stealer hybrids are kind of chill to begin with, so they don't stand out.
yeah.
In general. The problem is to the Orcs, when you're kind of chill, you stand out because you're not being an angry roid boy. So they just destroy the fucking Orc hybrids the second they, are there.
Yeah, that makes sense. In a weird way. I do think that orcs absorbing Tyranids or Tyranids absorbing orcs would be super interesting.
And bad for everyone, but...
Oh, terrible, but really interesting.
Also interesting. So, I'm just ordering this a bit better so that we talk on the right things.
Right things.
Order.
I'll not ask some questions, shall I?
Well, these are just all the units. So the Rippers are tiny, like hand-sized bugs that. Well, you say "oh."
I say "oh." I say "oh" preemptively. You know I'm gonna like him.
Well, that's the Rippers.
Why
They're
are you
like
showing me things right when I can't look at things?
They're like attack dogs, except for creepy crawlies. So. They run around in swarms, and they are part of the reason that planets get stripped. Like they just. Ooh. They literally just chomp. They're like piranhas.
They look like wood lice.
Yeah. Piranhas, except for on land. And sometimes flying.
Just casually, and sometimes flying.
Which doesn't make them better. Like, hey, that piranha that has learned to walk on land is terrifying. What else could you do? And then it's like, what if we gave them wings?
Right.
No, thank you.
Now I just want to sing Wonder Boy. How about the power of flight that do anything for you?
It's possible, and this is like law. This is theory within law. So this is like an Adeptus Mechanicus theory. That possibly the Rippers are like unevolved or ungestated Tyranids. So they're like the raw resources that you would turn into a Tyranid warrior.
Yeah.
And they just have them running around to like be useful, and then when they need to make stuff, they're like, okay, now turn it into something useful.
Yeah.
Possibly not. They're about half a meter long,
Oh,
to give you an idea on size.
size of a hand, though. At the same time.
Huh?
Did you say a size of a hand, though, as well? Or...
That was that. Did I say the size of a hand?
Yeah.
About half a meter long.
Okay.
Sorry,
well.
not the size of a hand.
I
Apologies.
was like, how are they both those things?
I was thinking like piranha comparison. And much like piranhas, it's almost like they were designed off the idea of a piranha, except for on land and sometimes with wings to be terrifying. They can bite through like steel.
Everything's just like chompy.
Yeah. Welcome to
So
Tyranids.
hungry.
Everything's chompy.
Yeah, they're hungry.
Like they can go through a space marine if the space marine gives them the chance. What like 1v1? They can't do anything really to a space marine will destroy the shit out of them. But even like a big swarm, even like a medium swarm of rippers could be dangerous to a space marine, unless they have like a flamethrower or something, which kind of helps. But
flamethrowers always help.
Flamethrowers are always great against Tyranids, just because they tend to be a swarm. But then flamethrowers are quite good against the Imperium too, because they also tend to swarm.
That's why I just said I didn't clarify. Just helpful all the time.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Moving on, we got the Gargoyles. They are essentially like Gaunts, except for flying. So they got wings. They tend to be. They don't generally tend to be anti-air. Because for the most part they're. It seems more like they're kind of lightning strike, hit and run type from the air vibe. They're reasonably large, about the same. Not that large comparatively, I guess, but they're about the same size as Gaunts, except for the wingspan and everything. Most often, they tend to have those fucking guns that bore and kill and everything. I think actually in general, unless they have a synapse creature like. So, there is I think they're called a Harridan.
Mm-hmm.
A Harridan we'll go into very quickly. It's like it's like a carrier, like a naval carrier
right.
that carries like, except for in the air. Have you seen oh god, what's it called? The found footage monster attacking New York.
Cloverfield?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Cloverfield monster?
Yeah.
It had those things like dropped off it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's exactly the same size, but it's similar in size to the Cloverfield monster, except for it flies and it drops gargoyles. So the gargoyles like hang on to it until it's time to go out and fight, and then drop off and go and cause chaos and then come back.
So like the Cloverfield monster then.
Except for flying.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a flight.
Yeah, you have to add in the flight part. No.
They ate a bird, and that's how it upgraded from the Cloverfield monster.
There you go.
Now you all know too. Sorry, I'm
we won't
clicking here.
So we won't go into the Harridan too much, because that's basically what it is in its role. But quite often the gargoyles are kind of left in like a battle where you don't need those big synapse creatures, the like much larger titans and stuff. They'll be left kind of to their own natural instincts a lot of the time. Just purely because their natural instincts are fly around, shoot stuff, everything like that.
Cause some havoc.
Yeah. They're mostly ranged combat as well, so they'll do like strafing runs and stuff like that. But they can fight in melee,
I keep realizing that
sometimes.
my camera, like, I'm not in the right spot for the model painting.
Oh, okay.
Because it feels very comfy for me, but the recording less so.
And then you have the Raveners.
Yeah.
And the Raveners are the point where you realize that fighting the Tyranids sucks. Because there's no fucking defense. Because the Raveners, do you know where they fight?
In the ocean.
No, not quite. But similar, like, vibe.
In the... everywhere.
In the ground.
In the ground. My brain
So
went
they can-
immediately to, like, microscopic Tyranids that would eat you from the inside out, and I'm like, that's horrifying.
Yeah, no, these are essentially do you know the Naga in D&D?
Like the serpent people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like that in like looks. They're quite large. They're kind of like snaky. They have, I think, 6 arms usually, and all of those are scythes, and they can dig really quickly underground and pop up anywhere.
Brilliant.
So that's fun. Also, it's worth, I don't think they're the only ones that can do that, but they're like the quickest, and occasionally, I'm not sure if sometimes they have ranged weapons as well.
Man, it just, yeah, as you say, it would just super suck to fight the Tyranids.
Yeah, they've got the air. They've got the crazy, like, fast ones, the little ones that just throw themselves at your defenses. Then the bigger ones with, like, nets and venom and acid and flesh-boring beetles, and then, like, swooping in from the air and fucking you up from there. And then if all of that isn't enough to worry about, they could just appear from behind you from from underneath your feet. Or it could just be a Lichter who's hidden there already and you didn't know it. And it's like, Jesus, okay.
Been waiting this whole time. Oh no. It would just be terrible. Just leave. Right off the entire planet. There we go. Look how cute
here's a fun little fact. A Magos Biologus, which is Adeptus Mechanicus kind of officer, let's say, who studies biology and fleshy life forms and stuff like that, was able to come up with a theory based on his research, which was that one of the downsides of the Raveners' senses that they need means that they can't perceive anything that doesn't move. So during one battle where they were in a lot of trouble, he ordered all of the men under his command to not move as a Ravener attack came in.
Oh. That would freak you out, wouldn't it? Just stand there whilst it sniffs around.
Well, it didn't really freak any of them out because it didn't work, because they can see people.
Oh, because they can.
So they all died like instantly. Not all theories are proven to be correct, and at least now they know. Well, they don't; they're dead. But I'm sure someone knows by now. Yeah. I just like that story because it's very Mechanicus. It's like, aha! I have a theory. How could this possibly backfire? And then they're like, oh, okay, like that.
Not me.
So, yeah, let's go like that. Next up is the card effects. We've kind of chatted about him a little bit. Monstrous creature. Massive, massive, massive like essentially he is the tank for the Tyranids. Sometimes I'm not 100% sure how true this is, so bear with me, I might be wrong. Sometimes it is ejected out of ships at enemy ships.
Just throw it
to just cannonball through and then start. You know the Juggernauts in X-Men?
Yep.
A bit like that.
Okay.
Like, once it's there, it just keeps running around and shouting at people and ripping shit apart. It's very hard to stop them.
Very distracting.
Like if there's like an armored column, throwing a fucking Carnifex at it is kind of a way to go for the Tyranids. There are different types of Tyranids, but basically really large, thick carapace, very hard to damage, and like all of the weapons that are needed for whatever it is they're supposed to be doing. You can compare them to a dreadnought, like a Space Marine dreadnought, but the thing is like you can, but it's much more like a tank that can walk and run and has like giant scythes on it.
I think I know which I would rather fight if and it's not the Tyranid.
Yeah. The one unfortunate thing as well is some of the variants can essentially like have all the usual armor and things like that, but they can also kind of like just vomit gas everywhere.
Great. Good.
Which, is one of those things which it feels like it should be illegal, because you've already got this like unstoppable tank motherfucker when they can also deal with you just by running past you, and then you die to like its farts, basically.
How are the Tyranids bad in the tabletop if they're so badass in like the actual history and everything?
So the problem is the way the tabletop works. It is very often point based and objective based.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be decently tactical with the Tyranids, and a lot of the time all of the other races tend to have some way to like focus fire. If you've got a Lehman Russ, you aim it for the synapse creatures.
Yeah.
Like, just because they're really effective against these things doesn't mean the things aren't also effective against them. And a lot of their has to get into melee or isn't, like a lot of their melee is super penetrative. A lot of their other stuff is like horrific bioweapons that are like, the flesh borer beetles. If you fire that at a Space Marine, it's going to splat on the armor.
Yeah.
The acid is really messed up, but it's not always going to eat all the way through a tank or a Space Marine's armor. If they're up against the Imperial Guard, they can do a lot of damage, but if an Imperial Guard sniper takes out a couple of synapse creatures,
yeah,
or all of your massive tanks roll over and crush the synapse creatures, you lose all your bonuses, you get a whole load of negatives, and it's really hard as the Tyranids to hold objectives and, that type of thing. So, also, they're a little bit underpowered just in terms of, like, representing their stats and stuff.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Sucks for Tyranids.
Yeah. There is it's one of the only real instances that I know of a character in the Tyranids, which is Old One Eye.
What?
He is, or they, I guess, it is a Carnifex that appears to be able to come back from the dead.
Well, I mean, they just remake him, I suppose.
Well, Possibly. That's one of the theories, is that he was killed, and when the Hive fleet or whatever like made another Carnifex, it was like a a template that just got snuck in there or something. Essentially, he was a Tyranid Carnifex that had quite high regenerative properties. Was shot in the face by, I think, a plasma pistol, which went through its eye and hit its brain.
Yeah.
It's never been able to regenerate the eye, so it's got like a missing bit of face around the bone of the eye and a missing eye, which is why it's called Old One Eye. So it was noticed every now and then in troops fighting the Tyranids in the area. It's from High Fleet Behemoth, I believe. Eventually, some smugglers on a planet found it frozen.
Okay.
Thawed it out, looking to basically sell it for, the corpse. As soon as it unthawed, it turns out it was kind of a little bit alive and regenerated. Yeah. It then, obviously, because it wasn't connected to the hive mind, it just ran around killing everyone.
Oh no.
Eventually, I think it was an Ultramarine turned up. I can't remember who it was, but eventually an Ultramarine turned up and tracked it down, had difficulty killing it, and then hit that same eye socket. The Carnifex Old One-Eyed fell into a ravine as it stumbled around in pain, and they never found the body. But since then, they've had multiple reports of Old One-Eye all around the area, in different places, fighting and all that type of thing. As I said, it's unsure exactly exactly whether it's the same one or whether it's a weird mutation or addition to the Tyranid template or something. But yeah.
I finished painting my model.
Really?
Yep.
Has that ever happened before?
Necron.
Oh, yeah. Steve.
Timmy. Whoa. I mean, I could do the base. I don't know what I would do the base in now. I've got a few technicals now. This has been a long time since this has happened. I'm confused.
Yeah. Well, let's look at it for a second. How you feeling on it?
Good. I mean, goodish.
Yeah. There was the little mistake that almost caused a complete meltdown, but no, I think we got past that.
There's I don't know how I feel sometimes painting in this method. So I've used Carroburg Crimson and the contrast medium to go all over, and I don't know if you can tell, but sometimes it's very similar to the way I painted the Howling Banshee, where you let it sort of sit on top and then in the recesses, and I don't like that sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't know quite how I feel about it now, but I think it's better because it's not like an armor panel. I definitely just got paint on my face. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Eduardo.
I think he looks really cool.
I'm just gonna sit here and faff with it.
Yeah.
What base color should you can pick the base color if you like. I've got quite a few now. I've got.
I mean, my go-to is always jungle grass.
Oh well, I have this stuff. Hang on.
could go maybe for like a kind of metallic.
Like dusty
Oh,
grass.
that's a big bag of weed.
No, it's my friend used to paint minis all the time, and
Yeah.
like he had loads spare. And he was like, "Do you want all these models?" And like, "Do you want this grass stuff?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" So I've got something that looks like snow. I've got a few. I'm just gonna drop them all the time. Normally I end up using astrogranite, but I've got astrogranite and astrogranite debris, so it's like crunchy. Then I've got Armageddon dunes and dust, so like sand. Snow with Valhalla Blizzard or mud.
Okay.
What do you think?
I like the idea of a Tyranid fighting on a Valhallan snow, but
On
that's just
snow.
that's just me.
That's just you. What do you think?
Well, how we doing? Like, how much do we have left of the app?
It's 56 minutes we've just done.
Oh, so we could probably wrap it up, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, sorry, that was like a definite like. I have taken over the topic. I don't know. I want to do the base though.
No, I mean, like, we have, like, little bits. I could probably run through really quickly, like, just finish off a few of the ones.
Let's go with astrogranite. Always solid with
Okay.
astrogranite, and then it can be like fully done because then I can do the black around the edge as well. So I've got this to do, and I can do like the
All right.
side.
You got a bit more you can do.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just run, before we take our break, I'll run very quickly over the, you got a zoanthrope, which is like a big brain that floats around and fires psychic blasts at people.
We can't just say it's a big old brain.
I mean, kind of is. He's probably also the most alien looking. I'll post them up as well in the. He's got that like alien head looking thing, and then he's got that big brain at the back, and then yeah.
He was one of the options for minis too.
They're really cool. They're basically like big cannons that fire psychic blasts, which is he's also a very powerful relay, synapse relay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're the psychers, which is weird, right? Because they're psychers, but they're not connected to the warp. I'm gonna add in another image for you because it's an interesting one, which is a zoanthrope basically melting a tech priest.
Wow. That's the noise I imagine they make.
Maybe a bit more crackly lightning, but yeah.
Wow.
They've got a whole load of psycho abilities, and they kind of they're very vulnerable to physical attacks. Then you got the Biovore, which fires the, it's like an artillery piece. It fires the spore mines. They're kind of assholes. You have the Tyrant Guard, which is essentially like they're essentially like shields for the big Tyranids. The most important ones, like the Hive Tyrant and so on and so forth. They're like multi-limbed, multi-legged Terminators or Dreadnoughts, basically. They are completely controlled and they don't have eyes. They're essentially like drones or robots that are completely controlled by the synapse creature that they're protecting. So also, one of the possibilities is they may have been developed from Space Marine DNA.
Ooh.
Yeah. If they're like protecting a Hive Tyrant or something, or any like important synapse creature, if the thing they're protecting dies, they go nuts and just go crazy. They can't see anything. But their instinct is to just destroy everything, including anything that was on their side. So
Yeah, just like gone now.
yeah.
Hmm.
One of the interesting things that's part of the strategy of the hive mind, which I think is kind of cool, is the instinct of the tyrant guard when it's like, you know, when it boils down to its like berserk rage, is to not only destroy everything but destroy itself.
Why?
So well, it doesn't like rip its own arms off or anything, but they'll attack everything in sight, which includes themselves, you know, each other type of thing.
Okay.
Which means like essentially because they're protecting the most important thing, and because they themselves are like the shield, it's best to limit the amount of knowledge available.
Hmm.
If you destroy everything, people can't come around later and go like, "Oh, how did this happen?" And there won't be any witnesses because
Yeah.
they've all been crushed and destroyed. So, yeah, that's just a little bit of PC. The Hive Tyrant is a psyker, not as powerful. It is uh, what's it called? A synapse creature as well.
Yeah.
Massive, sometimes bigger than a dreadnought.
Oh, well,
Um,
I'm glad I'm not painting that then.
yeah, it's one of the things about the Hive Tyrant is it is like the Tyranid Warrior in that it's very adaptable, and but it's like the command. So if the did you just get paint all over yourself?
Maybe.
Okay, that's fine. Um, so like if the Tyranid Warrior is the foot soldier, then the Hive Tyrant is the commander. And again, they can like get wings, they can get whips, they can there's like really rare variants which are super cool. Um they get like big venom cannons,
I
the
know,
stranglethorn
because they
cannons.
had them in the mini.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sheepy was like, "Ooh, it's very big to paint."
Well, it would have been a dick to paint. Like you finished this guy.
I know. This guy has a name. Okay, and then when this is dry, it will take a long time to dry. That's why I want to get it done. I can go around the edge in black, but I'm covered in astrogranite, so I'm very like I
Yeah.
can't touch anything now.
Yeah. No, the only other one that I was gonna mention that I think I'll save for now
Mm-hmm.
is the Norn Queen.
Non-queen.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
The Norn Queens is a lot more like a lot. There's a lot more. There's a bit more to the Norn Queen. It's a bit more like the Queen in Aliens, I guess.
Did you say the queen in England?
Aliens.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
I mean, I don't know the Queen in England personally, so they might be a lot like the Queen in England. I doubt it, but you never know. Where do you think all those English people
I
come
was
from?
like, what in the world are you talking about? Never mind. Sorry about
So,
that. Oh dear. Trying to clean the astrogranite off my hands right now so I can hold the mini and show everyone.
I think in the next part we'll talk Norn Queen, and then we'll probably dip into the what's it called? We'll probably dip into the High Fleet Behemoth and um the Tyran, the first fight with the Tyranids or first contact with the Tyranids on Tyran, the planet, and then the Battle of Macragge, which is the Ultramarines' last stand against the High
Yeah.
Fleet Behemoth.
That would be great.
Okay.
Let me just pop this guy away because
Cool.
we won't be painting him next episode. But here he is. I'll get a video.
Well, you can start on the Hive Tyrant next episode.
The one I don't have.
Yeah.
Probably just paint another dude. Okay, well, thank you for watching this episode, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.